You know, I initially thought this whole situation with Brad Maddox and everything else, like Brad Maddox and Ryback, I honestly thought that WWE was going to bring this here and they were going to be this whole thing and everything was going to work out perfectly. But then after realizing everything else and Hell in a Cell with the whole screw job or wherever the hell Hell in a Cell took place, and it's now that WWE is now turning things with Ryback versus Brad Maddox. Brad Maddox screwed over, of course, Ryback. And, it just kind of got a little frustrating and different things, and I honestly initially thought that, whatever, you have this another big whole stupid storyline. And after viewing everything else and all these different situations, I think that the Brad Maddox, CM Punk, Mick Foley, Ryback whole storyline, we have multiple weeks until Survivor Series, we don't know everything, the creative team's trying to work on things, and Team Foley versus Team CM Punk was already revealed, you got Ryback, you got Sheamus, you got all these champions on Mick Foley's team, and you got all the champions on CM Punk's team, that whole Survivor Series thing. But it comes to me if Brad Maddox will referee that match, and then, of course, again, have that whole thing with Mick Foley and now turn it into a Mick Foley, Ryback, Punk, Maddox situation. Storyline is going to be bring down, and it's not going to work, and you have all these different things, and it's just going to suck, and then WWE's going to pull it out, and then they're going to try to push it even further. And then Ryback's going to have his master push with nothing, just start beating up another jobbers, and he's going to go back to where he started. I don't think they should continue. I know they should continue the whole Brad Maddox situation. But after Royal Rumble, Ryback should win the WWE Championship, and he should go back to the Ryback and Punk feud and drop Brad Maddox. WWE's trying to do something with this referee or with this WWE superstar or whatever the hell he's going to be in. But I understand, the whole situation and everything else. But, could we ever see Ryback versus Brad Maddox? Or Ryback versus Brad Maddox? Ryback versus Brad Maddox versus CM Punk? Brad Maddox versus Punk versus Mick Foley? Versus Ryback? There's multiple different things that you could possibly do with Brad Maddox versus Ryback versus CM Punk. And I don't think the whole Hell in a Cell match wasn't all that great, and thankfully I didn't buy it. That whole undefeated streak was on the line, and I didn't really pay attention. I didn't really buy it. I watched online after the show was over, and and it wasn't that great. I think they should drop that whole Hell in a Cell pay-per-view and do all that other different things. And I initially thought at this whole situation that WWE is going to pull something out of their playbook. They didn't want Ryback to lose first. They didn't want CM Punk to lose the title. WWE was so important on having CM Punk win and hold and try to beat John Cena's record, and they wanted him to hold the title at the Royal Rumble and have CM Punk beat The Rock and the whole thing. It's just kind of weird how they have that whole situation. So could we ever see Brad Maddox versus Ryback? I think so. I don't think so. There's multiple things you could do besides Ryback versus Brad Maddox. He could become this referee, that referee heel, the first ever, WWE official that's an official referee heel, and he, screws over people, you're a referee that screws over, a screw job, where you have, a special guest referee that screws over someone, but he's actually a real official, and he's against, CM Punk, and every time CM Punk wins, and they started building up this on the September 24th, 2012 episode of Raw. You had the whole Brad Maddox and AJ storyline. Now you have AJ storyline versus Big Guerrero versus John Cena. And WWE's product right now is starting in the right direction, but is it ready to blast full speed? No. I don't ever see WWE pulling out this whole storyline type of thing or whole match. And, you know, someone brought it to my attention that you could possibly do Ryback versus Maddox. If Maddox wins, he gets a whole... But I don't like those type of matches where if, like, Cena wins, he's hired, or if Cena loses, he's fired, or, like, those type of situations. I hate when WWE does that. You know, I want your thoughts and your opinions on the whole Ryback versus Maddox situation. Don't forget to leave a comment and subscribe so I can feed you more dirty news. Subscribe.